Changing isn't always for the best, but sometimes it is. I am aiming to create a multiplayer PvP bank heist game, which I have for now named Mug. The main game mode being you have two opposing sides, the police and the muggers, with the main aim being for the muggers to steal the gold and the police to stop you. Pretty straightforward. Now in the last devlog we created the default characters, the player controller, added a bunch of guns, we created the bank map which was based on the Bank of England, and we created destructible walls and objects. Now I'm pretty sure after this video I had searched for Bank of England images more times than anyone in history, probably. So I'm probably on some FBI watch list somewhere, so FBI, if you're watching, there's no bank heists, just pixels and polygons. Now one of the biggest changes I've made since my last devlog was I switched the camera view from third person to first person, and that makes it sound a lot easier than it was. Primarily I had to learn first person animations, and this is when I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed a 25-part series on learning first person animations. But if you want to learn FPS animations, I 100% recommend it. Thank you David, cheers. The next thing I scrapped was the low polygon stylized aesthetic. I'm now aiming for a more cartoonish style similar to the buildings from Disney or Pixar. So I guess all them hours in Blender modeling the low poly assets has gone to waste. Now it was about this time when I noticed the characters' bodies weren't looking right. No, not like that. The mesh was warping weird, but not in Unity Editor, just on the build. So I spent 2 days trying to figure out this problem, and I couldn't find the solution. So I was left with only one option: delete and restart. Now I know this seems extreme, but as my old coding tutor would say,
rewriting code is like renovating a house. It refreshes outdated designs, fixes structural flaws, and adds modeling comforts, ensuring the building stands strong and functional for the future.
I'm waffling. So I started a new project, this time sticking with the standard URP because HDRP kinda left a sour taste in my mouth. Even though the procedural skybox is ever so beautiful. So, starting from the beginning, I created the movement, this time using physics-based movement. Then I recreated the hands and recreated all the animations because I didn't like my first design. Then I didn't like them hands either, so I created some new 3-finger hands and redid all the animations again. Productivity. Now my reason being, if the hands are only 3 fingers, people won't expect realistic animations, and I think it suits the simple toon style of the characters. After the FPS movement and animations were done, it was time to rewrite the gun code, and I found it best to split the gun code into separate scripts, each controlling a different part. First we have the weapon sway, which adds lean and rotation to the gun depending on the mouse and movement input. Next we have the gun bone IK, which makes the left hand grip the gun like I was gripsing your mum last night.
Well, that's a lie.
Then we have the gun kickback, which adds random rotation to the gunfire animation, so the animation isn't the exact same each time it's played. The gun camera shake script rotates the camera slightly, which adds to the game feel, and the recoil moves the camera up slightly, meaning to control the recoil you have to pull down the gun like I pull your mom.
Another lie!
Gun spray adds a random offset to your bullets after the first bullet is fired, or if you are moving. Next, the gun reload plays different reload sounds and camera shakes throughout the duration of the reload clip. And lastly, the main man, the gun fire script, which fires the bullet, plays the muzzle flash effect, impact effect, and deals damage to objects. You know that classic, typical gaming moment when your buddy yells duck, but your character's more of a stand and get hit type of guy? Yeah, well, don't worry, we've all been sacrificed in the name of teamwork. But fear not, now I've added more to the player movement so you can crouch and slide under your buddy's gunfire. Don't worry, all that standing up straight is in the past.
Nice.
Tea? Would you like some tea? Oh, right. Now, up to this point, I've only been animating the hands, and, well, I need to get the third person view looking better than this. So, after trying out a couple methods, I found this way to work best. First, using animation layers, you have the first 2 layers control the entire player. This is what you will see from third person. And using animation weights, you have the next couple layers control what the first person player sees. The reason I override the third person layer is because in third person you have a lot of movements you don't want to see in first person, like the player moving up and down when he is running. If you have too much camera movement in first person, you can actually give your player motion sickness. Hey man, these animations are nice. Where'd you get them from? What are you talking about? I made them. I need to see I made them. Did you really? I made them. What are you talking about? Yes, please. Yes, please. Yep. Did you? Yeah. About a month ago, I posted my Scar reload on Reddit, and a lot of Redditors were really nice, but a few had some concerns. One, I could get copyrighted since I don't actually own the rights of the Scar design. And 2, that's not actually how you reload a Scar. And those concerns are pretty much correct. The gun isn't an exact replica, and because the reload isn't the same as the real life gun, it will be a Scar inspired gun. And fun fact, my Scar reload is heavily inspired from Left 4 Dead's Scar reload. Now the gun spray and recoil works like this. If you're aiming down sights, you have no spray, just a little recoil to compensate for. But if you are hip firing, you have spray and recoil to worry about. During developing this game, I've done a lot of experimenting with different shaders, and I've even asked Twitter and Reddit which one you guys prefer. I have for now currently landed on the Toon Lit shader, which combines both shading qualities of a URP lit shader and a cell shader. And another big graphical improvement was tone mapping, which helped me add contrast and color to the scene. When networking a game, there are many different ways to go about it. I won't bore you with all the different options and technical details, but right now I am using relay servers. That basically means one player hosts the game and updates all the other connected players what is happening. Like, this player shot this player, or this player moved over here. So I started by setting up a new menu scene, then I created the lobby system, which you can join by lobby code or just using the quick join button. Then I connected it to a relay server and changed the scene when the host presses launch. Right now I am using anonymous sign-in, but I did add a name field so that players still have a name in game. After this I set up most of the networking basics like the player movements, the animations, the dying plus ragdolls, respawning, syncing all the different effects, syncing the inventory, and syncing the damage. I did try make the gunfire server authoritative by simulating the gunfire over the server and having the server dictate whether a player is hit and dealing damage. But because of lag, by the time the server has received the gunfire message and done its calculations, the player will have moved. So ideally you would want to do client prediction before this step, and I'm boring myself just talking about this. So anyway, for testing purposes, a lot of my stuff remains client authoritative. Next was to start actually creating a bank, and I created a tester bank, but honestly it was pretty ugly and terrible, so let's just scrap that. I don't want to talk about it. So I started again, this time creating a city-like tester environment in ProBuilder. Then I started creating the bank in Blender, this time making it modular by using prefabs, so that in Unity it would be like using Lego to form my bank. Now one thing that this game is missing that every game has is a melee attack. So I hopped into Blender and I created a baton for the police and a crowbar for the robbers. Then I created a hitting animation, exported them into Unity, and I created a melee script to play effects, camera shakes, and do damage to opponents. However, right now there isn't much feedback when you are dealt damage or when you deal damage to an enemy player. So I added a camera shake with a screen effect to show when you are hit. Additionally, I added a health bar and a kill feed showing who killed who. Finishing up, I formed a bank with my prefabs, then I started with the interior, and of course for a bank heist you need a bank vault, so after looking at some reference images I created this vault in Blender. Then I created an interior layout, which for now is just rooms and corridors, and I found some textures that I thought matched the aesthetic, and I applied them to the walls, floors and bank vault. Lastly I added some lights, and then I baked the lighting.
One eternity later.
Next, I did a playtest with my brother and I discovered only a couple dozen bugs. And after fixing these, plus adding the option to character select and an options UI to change your sense or exit the game, I was now ready for the final playtest with some friends. I'd like to say the final playtest was a success. Of course, there was a shit ton of bugs like players getting stuck in the ground, some players not being able to see other players, my idiot friend jumping off the edge of the map and falling. In conclusion, next I will definitely spend some time fixing bugs and polishing the current mechanics, but I also want to create the actual city environment, and also adding some unique guns. And to end, I'll leave you with the wise words from Home Alone 2. Merry Christmas.
You filthy animal.